So think about this for a second. How much do you actually genuinely trust the AI that's becoming part of, well, everything? Your phone, your smart speaker, maybe even the tools you use at work.
It's a really big question, right? Because AI adoption is, I mean, it's just exploding. You see figures like 78% of companies using it, according to McKinsey.
Yeah, and EB says 95% are investing in it. That's almost everyone.
Exactly. But here's the kicker. There's this huge gap, like a 67% difference, when you look at the focus on AI governance and, making sure it's safe and reliable.
That's a massive disconnect. And that gap, that sort of trust debt, as you called it before we started, that's what we're really digging into today.
Right.
Our mission here is to explore why building trust into AI isn't just like a nice to have or a compliance thing. It's fundamental for business, for safety.
Absolutely. We need to unpack these silent failures, the really tricky ones.
Silent failures. Explain that a bit.
Yeah, these are errors that don't necessarily crash the whole system, right? They don't announce themselves loudly. Instead, they just quietly chip away at performance or safety or profits.
Okay, so they're subtle but damaging.
Hugely damaging over time. And then we want to look at a new way, a framework for actually building that trust in from the start.
And you mentioned some pretty stark examples earlier, things that make you sit up and pay attention.
Oh, definitely. I mean, picture a major telecom network going down because of one AI decision. We're talking millions of dollars lost per minute.
Billions per minute. Wow.
Yeah. Or imagine a gas sensor supposed to keep people safe, but it misinterprets the data. Suddenly lives are on the line. These things happen. They show just how high the stakes are with this trust issue.
They really do. So these silent failures, like the telecom one you mentioned, AT&T, Verizon, companies like that losing millions every minute.
Exactly. That kind of downtime is catastrophic financially.
And the gas sensor example, where misinterpretation puts lives at risk, that's terrifying.
It is. And it's not always life or death, but still very costly. Like, there was a case where a supply chain AI messed up the SKU data, the stock codes. Sounds minor, right?
Mm-hmm. Seems technical.
But it cost the company millions in lost or misplaced inventory, shipping errors. The whole chain got disrupted. Millions.
And the really dangerous part, as you said, is that you often don't see it coming. You can't easily put a dollar figure on the risk beforehand. It just happens.
It just happens. And by the time you realize, the damage is done, which is exactly why we need to be proactive, why we need to engineer trust in.
Okay, so how do we do that? What are the building blocks? You mentioned 3 core pillars.
That's right. We've sort of distilled it down to 3 foundational principles. These are essential for getting that visibility and control you need.
Let's break them down. First up is explainability.
Right. Explainability is basically the idea that the AI needs to show its work. You need a clear view, kind of like looking under the hood of a car.
Okay, so you can see why it made a certain decision or inference.
Precisely. And crucially, it needs to explain it in a way that, a business manager or an operator can understand, not just data scientists. Plain English explanations.
Otherwise, you're just trusting blindly. You're flying blind.
You are totally flying blind.
Huh.
So that's pillar 1. Pillar 2, which is maybe even more fundamental, is the bedrock, is traceability.
Traceability, like tracking a package.
Exactly like tracking a package,
Right.
or maybe like a flight recorder on an airplane. Every single piece of data, every change, every model version, it all gets digitally signed and logged.
So you can always rewind, retrace the steps.
Yes. Understand exactly what happened, when, why, and even recreate the situation perfectly. Think of it like a software bill of materials, but for your entire AI system.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so explainability to understand the why, traceability as the solid foundation. What's next?
Next, we have 2 things that work together. First is guardrails, but specifically with adaptive control.
Adaptive control sounds like cruise control in a car.
Sort of, yeah, but maybe more like lane assist that actively steers you back. It's about building smart automated checks into the AI. If the AI starts making mistakes or drifting off course.
It can automatically slow down or change direction.
Exactly. Or, crucially, it can flag it and say, hey, I need a human to look at this. It can call for help. This is how you prevent those massive losses, by having this system put the brakes on itself when it hits a certain risk threshold.
A safety net.
A smart automated safety net, and that ties directly into the final piece, human in the loop.
Right, but you hear that phrase a lot. Sometimes it sounds like it just adds bureaucracy.
And that's a fair concern. But done right, it's not about adding layers of sign-offs for everything. It's about designing clear roles and, like, playbooks.
Okay.
So when the AI does need help, The right expert gets pinged with the right information at the right time. It's targeted intervention, not constant oversight. Makes the whole thing manageable.
Okay, so explainability, traceability, adaptive guardrails, and smart human in the loop. Those are the pillars. But how do you actually, build these into the day-to-day process? This feels like a shift from standard MLOps.
That's exactly the point. We
So,
need to go beyond standard MLOs. MLOps, for anyone listening who might not be deep in it, is basically the set of practices for deploying and maintaining machine learning models reliably. It's DevOps for ML.
right, keeping the models running.
Yeah. But what we're proposing, what we call XTOPS, isn't just about running the models. It's about fundamentally rebuilding the AI lifecycle around trust.
So XTOPS isn't just adding more checks to MLOps.
No, it's more fundamental. Think of it like MLOps with a built-in conscience and a direct line to human oversight. Trust isn't something you check for at the end. It's designed in, measurable from the very start. It shifts the whole mindset from reactive firefighting to proactive engineering.
Okay, I like that. MLOps with a conscience. So walk me through how X2PS actually embeds these pillars, starting with, say, the data itself.
Great question. So right at the data stage, XTOPS enforces that traceability we talked about. Full data provenance. You know exactly where your data came from, every single transformation it went through. No more black boxes in your data pipeline.
Okay, verifiable origins. Then what about training the model?
During model training, you're not just optimizing for accuracy anymore. You're actively embedding what we call actionable intelligibility.
Actionable intelligibility.
Yeah, the model itself learns to generate clear explanations for its predictions. So you don't just see the answer, you see the reasoning. This lets you spot really early on if the model's logic starts to drift or become unreliable.
And then deployment, that's where the guardrails come in.
Exactly. At deployment, those adaptive controls kick in. The guardrails aren't static. They adjust based on the context, the data, the situation. If things look risky, the system can automatically pause itself or scale back its influence.
And the human feedback loop.
That's woven through the real-world feedback stage. XTOPS makes human-AI teaming really seamless. It creates pathways for quick intervention, for experts to correct the model, to provide feedback that directly improves the system. Every decision has that why, when, and who attached. Humans are back in control.
So if a company is already doing MLOps, why make the shift to XTOPS? What's the real advantage? It sounds like a big lift.
It's definitely an upgrade, not just tweaking. The key difference lies in how integrated and purpose-built for trust XTOPS is. Standard MLOps might have some policies, some general monitoring.
But XTOPS gives you dynamic, AI-aware guardrails. They understand the context of the AI's decision.
Precisely. They can intelligently block risky decisions in real time, not just flag generic anomalies after the fact.
And the reporting changes too, right? Instead of just technical metrics.
You get dedicated trust-specific dashboards. These are designed for leadership, maybe even the board. They translate the technical stuff, model drift, bias indicators, into actual business risk and impact. Much easier to understand and act on.
And the human-in-the-loop aspect sounds more structured.
Yeah, it moves beyond just hoping someone notices an alert. XTOPS enable things like click-to-fix workflows. It creates a fast lane for that essential human expertise to get in, fix the problem, and even trigger retraining really quickly.
So the bottom line, the business benefit.
Is spending way less time putting out AI fires, dealing with unpredictable behavior.
And more time actually innovating. Building better products that people, actually trust.
That's the goal. Reliable, trustworthy AI that delivers value.
Okay, if you're going to manage trust seriously, you need to measure it. You mentioned a couple of key metrics earlier. Let's start with MTRE, mean time to resolve explainable errors.
Right, MTRE. It sounds technical, but the idea is simple. It's how long it takes you to not just patch an AI problem, but to really understand why it happened, using that explainability and traceability we talked about, and then deploy a proper fix.
So a lower MTRE means you're faster at understanding and fixing things.
Exactly. It's a measure of your team's agility, the quality of your AI systems. Fewer defects, faster recovery. It's a really powerful indicator.
And the other metric, trust-adjusted risk in dollars.
Yes. This one really gets attention. It puts a hard number, a price tag, on what happens when trust breaks down.
So quantifying the cost of failure.
Precisely. Whether that cost comes from fines, losing customers, brand damage, operational disruption.
Right.
It adds it all up. What's the real business cost if this AI failed or makes a biased decision?
Why focus on these two, though? Don't companies already track things like mean time to resolution, MPT?
They do, but standard MPT for complex AI issues can take Well, honestly, sometimes months. Yeah,
Yeah.
and think about it. If your AI is making a bad or biased decision, and it takes you months to even figure out why, let alone fix it, the damage just keeps accumulating. It can grow exponentially.
Okay, so MTRE forces faster understanding and fixing.
Right. And the fallout from these incidents isn't just one thing. It's the immediate cost, maybe fines. Then it's the massive engineering effort to fix it. Then you might have regulators crawling all over you,
And the brand damage.
which is huge, often the biggest long-term cost. We've seen estimates where a single serious incident, like a major privacy breach or bias in a credit card system, could easily snowball into costs upwards of $700 million.
Wow, 700 million.
Yeah. So these metrics, MTRE and trust-adjusted risk, they're not just defensive. They're actually about competitive advantage.
Right.
A low MTRE shows you to act faster. A clear risk number helps you invest smarter in reliable AI. It's about building resilient products that customers and stakeholders can actually depend on.
Let's make this really concrete. You shared a case study about a company called Guard Hat. Tell us about that.
Sure. Guard Hat operates in a really high-stakes area, worker safety in hazardous industrial environments. Think mining, construction, places like that. They use this platform with wearable sensors, IoT devices, collecting real-time data on workers' health, their environment, location. And an AI analyzes all this to predict and hopefully prevent accidents. Truly mission-critical stuff.
Absolutely. But they hit a snag.
A big one. A key input for their AI was GPS data for location. But the GPS data wasn't always accurate. It had drift, and this drift was causing the AI to generate a massive number of false alarms.
So massive.
Get this, 70% false positives. 7 out of 10 alerts were wrong.
Oh, wow. And the consequence of that is?
Predictable, sadly.
Right.
Workers just stopped trusting the alerts. They started ignoring them, which, completely defeats the purpose of the system and creates enormous safety and liability risks.
Yeah, if the system cries wolf constantly, people tune it out, especially when their safety is on the line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the challenge, before they implemented an XTOPS approach, was trying to figure out why this was happening. Pinpointing that subtle GPS drift inside a complex AI model buried in tons of code and data. It was like finding a needle in a haystack, almost impossible forensically.
So enter XTOPS. What changed?
It was dramatic. Because XTOPS builds in that traceability and explainability, they could actually see where the GPS data was causing problems in the model's reasoning. It turned guesswork into a forensic investigation.
And the adaptive control.
That allowed them to put temporary fixes in place fast, mitigating the bad alerts while they worked on a permanent solution for the GPS drift. Now, building the initial XTOPS framework, getting those blueprints for trust in place, that took about 8 months. That's the upfront investment.
Okay. Significant but foundational.
Right. But here's the payoff. Once that framework existed, solving problems like the GPS drift issue went from potentially months of searching to just 7 days.
7 days, from identification to resolution.
Yeah. Think about the timeline. Day 0, maybe an incident happens and someone notes the alert was ignored or wrong. By day 2, the system's own telemetry, the traceability data, flags the anomaly and points towards GPS drift as the likely culprit. By day 7, they've deployed a fix either correcting the drift or having the model compensate for it. That's a revolutionary speed up.
That's incredible. And the business impact for the CIOs listening.
It was huge. Their initial risk exposure from these false alarms was estimated around $2.5 million per site per year.
Wow.
Implementing the trustworthy AI system directly saved them about $500,000 in potential fines and incident costs per site per year. But the bigger win was indirect.
Making the system actually work as intended.
Exactly. It could finally do its job effectively preventing incidents. False alerts plummeted. And crucially, the trust score went up. Workers started paying attention again. The system could explain why it raised an alert. It could control for issues like GPS drift, and the human in the loop ensured quick fixes and retraining. It totally changed the game for them.
That really drives home the value. From unusable to life-saving, essentially.
Very much.
But okay, we've talked about quantifying financial risk, MTRE, but there's one piece that still feels fuzzy. What about the damage to a company's reputation when AI fails? How do you even begin to measure that?
Yeah. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or maybe the billion-dollar question. Reputation damage. It's the ultimate silent failure, in a way.
Because it's so hard to pin down.
Exactly. People try, they get creative with models linking brand sentiment to stock price or customer churn. But honestly, it's incredibly hard to measure accurately and even harder to predict the full impact beforehand. It's one of those critical factors that remains largely unquantifiable. Even though everyone knows how devastating it can be, there's just no easy answer for putting a number on that.
Right. It's real, it's huge, but it defies easy calculation.
Afraid so.
Well, this has been incredibly insightful. It really feels like the core message here is that AI holds enormous promise, obviously, but we only unlock its real sustainable value when trust is baked in from the very beginning. It can't be an afterthought.
Absolutely. It has to be engineered into the core.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. As AI gets woven even more deeply into our work, into our lives, maybe take a moment to consider what unseen trust debt might be building up in the systems you rely on.
Yeah, and how can understanding these ideas, explainability, traceability, keeping humans in control, empower you to start asking tougher, more critical questions about the AI you interact with every day? Something we all need to think about.